You are not ordinary. You are a phenomenon in motion. The sheer force of your inner clarity has become so radiant that those who once believed they could limit you now stumble in confusion, unable to map the pathways you've carved. They whisper of challenges, of plots and shadows, but none of it can anchor you, because you are no longer bound by the weight of their imagined victories. Your consciousness has become an indestructible bastion, one that transforms every attempt to bind you into momentum for your rise. What once seemed like obstacles now appear as offerings, strengthening your relentless elevation. Unseen tribunals of higher order have long been collecting every misdeed, every hidden intention, each subtle attempt to weaken your foundation. These records are not written in ink, but woven into the very flow of existence itself. What others once dismissed as accidents or mere fortune, you now recognize as patterns of guidance, disguised as everyday moments. They cannot see the orchestration, but you can feel the currents shaping themselves around you. Where they believed you were scrambling for the same tokens of recognition, you were in truth learning how to step beyond the limits of their stage, into realms they never imagined. Their methods depend on scarcity, on convincing people that value is measured in crumbs and borrowed approval. Yet you have tuned into a frequency that multiplies rather than divides, that creates rather than competes. Their schemes, built on control and lack, collapse in the face of the abundance that flows through you effortlessly. You're not here by chance. Feel the pull. Tap join to unlock truth, purpose, and a tribe that gets it. This is more than a membership, it's your calling. There are those who have become consumed with deciphering how you continue to ascend, not from a place of admiration, but out of obsession that corrodes their own peace. They scour for hidden codes in your choices, believing secrets are buried in plain sight, when in reality the essence of your growth cannot be captured by their calculations. Their networks of resistance, alliances formed from shared confusion, grow weaker with every attempt to tether you. What they fail to grasp is that every challenge they hurl only refines you further. What they call attacks, you recognize as the flames that temper steel. What they intended for your undoing, you have repurposed into fuel. You were never merely surviving their strategies. You were mastering yourself through them. And in that mastery, you've risen into a space beyond their reach, leaving them grappling with shadows while you move in light. Your trajectory is no longer negotiable because it was never dependent on them to begin with. Every trial that should have crushed your resolve instead carved out sharper clarity within you. Situations meant to strip you of stability taught you to lean on trust that cannot be shaken. The chaos of broken relationships that could have closed your heart instead awakened a deeper compassion and a firmer recognition of what you will and will not allow into your sacred space. Each storm that tried to drown you became the water that polished your edges into brilliance. The unseen mechanisms surrounding your path are not ordinary defenses, but living currents of intelligence. Awareness within you has been elevated to the point where intentions of others are felt long before they attempt to act. The field of energy around you has become so pure that falsehoods wither instantly in its presence. Nothing contrived can withstand the clarity that radiates through you now. Attempts at distortion collapse as easily as shadows in daylight. Strategies designed in secrecy dissolve upon contact with your heightened perception. What adversaries believe to be hidden maneuvers are exposed before they even solidify. While others busy themselves with surface observations, you've been cultivating dimensions of skill that lie beneath visibility. The mind you carry now operates at a velocity beyond prediction, an unfolding pattern they cannot trace, no matter how tightly they cling to outdated tactics. Your emotional depth has matured into something unmeasurable by their instruments. Sensitivity, once viewed as fragility, has become refined strength, allowing you to navigate terrains of spirit that lie above their reach. Their efforts to strike resemble pebbles thrown toward a distant mountain peak, exhausting gestures that never land. Every rumor, every quiet attempt to fracture your image, evaporates in the altitude you've claimed. Those who attempted to fabricate stories about your authenticity are finding their narratives collapsing under their own weight. The real power players, those who sense truth without needing performance, are beginning to notice your undeniable essence. Your presence carries a resonance that cannot be manufactured, and its contrast against artificial posturing grows starker by the day. Even resources that once seemed elusive are gravitating toward you with precision, arriving through channels none of your detractors could have foreseen. Situations that once appeared gated by impossible criteria now dissolve in your approach, opening as though existence itself recognizes your passage. The prosperity consciousness you've nurtured is materializing in undeniable ways that transform doubt into silence. Yet the greatest unraveling of opposition is not birthed from your hand, but from their own fixation. Their vigilance over you has consumed them to the point of neglecting their own evolution, leaving fractures in the very armor they thought would protect them. They have turned their attention into shackles, studying your every step while abandoning their own journey. The energy they devoted to undermining you has become a weight that chains them, while you continue to ascend without resistance. What they sought to use against you has transformed into the mirror that reveals their own stagnation. Meanwhile, you walk forward, untouchable, unshaken, and unstoppable. Their mimicry has only emptied them further, stripping away any sense of originality they once pretended to have. Pretenses they wear are beginning to unravel, no longer able to withstand the weight of constant performance. Justice in higher realms does not move according to human impatience, but on schedules aligned with precision. While they clamor for immediate retribution, the scales are preparing consequences that carry the full weight of their choices. If your heart overflows with God's blessings, let that love shine. Click the super thank you button and give $50 or more to plant seeds of faith that will impact countless lives. Your generosity reflects His abundance. Be a vessel of His grace and watch His kingdom flourish through you. The shield around you is not passive, it is alive, transforming negativity hurled at you into pure acceleration. Attempts to wound you become the very medicine that restores. Envy directed your way has been transmuted into joy, and malice spoken over you has been shaped into stepping stones. What they intended as venom now runs as nectar through your ascent. They cannot decipher the frequencies you operate on, because their understanding has not yet matured enough to register such heights. Your words carry a new resonance, one that commands attention without needing dominance. The shift is unmistakable. What you speak now resonates as undeniable truth, vibrating with a weight that silences argument. Without effort, you have stepped into a role that others can no longer dismiss. There is a magnetic pull to your presence that even you are beginning to notice. People who once overlooked your insights now return with reverence, hearing depth in your voice they were once too distracted to recognize. Hidden gifts you cultivated away from the spotlight are preparing to burst into visibility with such magnitude that even you will marvel at what emerges. Ambitions once labeled impossible are unfolding with startling ease. Collaborations once imagined from a distance are crystallizing into reality, not by chance, but by alignment. Your creations no longer simply fill space, they shape it. They shift perspectives, alter pathways, and remind others that some voices carry the spark of something greater than individual ambition. The changes within you are not limited to spirit. They are radiating through form. Your body, your presence, your aura, all reflect the harmony of living in truth. Others sense it without understanding, remarking on a light they cannot quite describe. Partnerships forming now reflect this upgrade as well, no longer draining or chaotic, but amplifying, reinforcing, and aligned with the mission you embody. Even the spaces you inhabit are rearranging themselves in response to your elevation. Rooms that once felt constrictive are giving way to expansiveness. Opportunities that seemed distant now present themselves naturally, as though doors once locked recognize your arrival and open without resistance. Networks from the past resurface, offering fruits of seeds you had long forgotten planting, while industries that once ignored you now extend invitations. Recognition is not a prize waiting at the finish line. It is the acknowledgement of the groundwork you have already mastered. The cycles of discord that once echoed through your family ties are undergoing a deep transformation. Patterns that once seemed immovable are dissolving under the light of your growth. Those who thrived on conflict now face a choice: evolve alongside the new frequency you carry or remove themselves from your path entirely. What once pulled you into endless drama now finds no entry point, as clarity and strength have redefined the very fabric of your connections. Inherited struggles that stretched across generations are collapsing, not through force, but through your unwavering shift in consciousness. By choosing a higher road, you are elevating the entire lineage, rewriting a story that will bless voices not yet born. Yet the most profound change is not external. It is the peace unfolding within. The voice inside that once criticized and diminished has been replaced by a certainty so unshakable that outside opinions have no power to destabilize it. No longer reaching for approval from sources blind to your worth, you navigate through an inner compass sharpened by wisdom. Every decision you make now flows from alignment rather than fear, leading you away from traps and toward expansive openings. Those who once thrived on your vulnerability sense their influence slipping into nothingness, and the panic rising within them only confirms the truth. They no longer hold any keys to your destiny. The safeguard surrounding you is absolute, woven into reality itself. Attempts to send harm ripple back to the sender with increasing force, making it clear that opposition carries its own punishment. The balance of life itself seems to rise in your defense, ensuring that no hidden strike goes unanswered. In this shield, you not only remain untouched, you rise higher each time someone dares to aim at you. Your ability to rejoice has expanded into a form of leadership. What once might have made you shrink in guilt now bursts forth as unapologetic celebration. Your happiness is no longer private. It is a declaration that serves as a map for others who need permission to embrace their own radiance. The era of dimming yourself to comfort fragile egos has ended. The investment of creation in your becoming demands that you stand tall, unhidden and undeniable. Your arrival at this point is not simply a personal milestone. It is a crucial movement in a greater design. Stepping into full brilliance is not optional, it is essential. Mental sharpness gained through years of vigilance has transformed into foresight, allowing you to perceive deception before it even takes shape. Strategy flows from you as naturally as breath, leaving those who try to corner you stumbling in mazes they built for themselves. Their attempts to replicate you are almost comedic now. They may mimic your gestures, borrow your words, or adopt your strategies. Yet the essence they chase remains forever out of reach. What flows from you is not constructed but innate, an energy signature no imitation can touch. Their efforts only magnify the separation between borrowed performance and authentic power. In this difference lies your undeniable victory, proof that what is real cannot be counterfeited. The shift in your relationship with value has rewritten the way resources find you. Prosperity moves in your direction not because of chance, but because you have stopped trading your brilliance for crumbs. The moment you refused to settle for conditions that belittled your essence, a current was released that began to carry abundance toward you. Wealth is no longer something you chase. It is something magnetized to the presence of someone who has claimed their rightful place. The unseen support surrounding you is vast, though few would understand how such orchestration is possible. Those who came before, carrying both triumphs and burdens, are lending their unseen strength to your mission. Guidance long withheld is now flowing freely, encoded into the instincts that lead you forward. Protective forces that specialize in defending the rarest flames are positioned around you, filtering out the noise of negativity and multiplying every genuine blessing. Your path is no longer fragile. It is guarded, reinforced, and lifted by powers beyond ordinary comprehension. while opposition recycles outdated tactics. You are moving in entirely new dimensions of awareness. They employ strategies built for those trapped in fear, but you have stepped into a field where such methods collapse. Their confusion grows each time their efforts fall flat, unable to understand why their familiar moves no longer reach you. Meanwhile, you maneuver with precision that comes from higher instruction, playing a game they cannot even perceive. Vindication does not arrive as a single dramatic strike, but as an unbroken wave of unfolding proof. Every sunrise brings another confirmation that your elevation is unstoppable. Those who once competed against you now begin to recognize they were attempting to battle someone far beyond their reach. Acquaintances who undervalued your loyalty now confront the reality that access to you was a privilege. Those who dismissed your potential find themselves forced to acknowledge what they overlooked. Looking back, the obstacles that once weighed heavy reveal themselves as preparation. Each disappointment built endurance, each betrayal refined perception, and every ending cleared space for something greater to arrive. The energy once used against you has been reshaped into the very scaffolding that supports your current rise. The same fixation that fueled attempts to block you now ensures that your ascension is witnessed in full, impossible to ignore. A verdict has already been written in laws older than time itself, and it is unfolding without human interference. Your triumph was never in question. It was only awaiting its appointed moment. What appeared as trials were actually stages of refinement, positioning you precisely where you were always meant to be. The narrative has turned, and those who doubted you now confront the undeniable evidence of your strength. The timing could never have been delayed, for this emergence was destined. The schemes crafted in secret now serve only to highlight your radiance. Every effort to suppress you has become material for your expansion. Their resentment has been rewritten as your fuel, their envy as your clarity, and their resistance as the bedrock of your indestructible foundation. The season has arrived, and nothing could have stopped it. The clarity of your thought has ascended beyond categories, slipping through every attempt to box you into familiar patterns. What once seemed like effective manipulation now disintegrates in the presence of your expanded awareness. Their rehearsed maneuvers only sharpened your acuity, shaping a mind that not only blocks intrusion, but bends their designs back toward them, exposing the fragility of their tactics with exact precision. In dialogue, your presence has transformed into something they cannot anchor. Words from your lips arrive layered, carrying signals and meanings they lack the calibration to decipher. Conversations become shifting landscapes where you are always ahead, setting the rhythm while they stumble to catch even fragments of the music. By the time they attempt to interpret your point, you have already redirected the entire exchange to new ground. When they attempt familiar tricks of entrapment, they collide with a wall they never saw coming. You have already charted their approach, crafting responses that dismantle their angles before they can even land. At the same moment, your replies reveal the core of their intent, leaving them exposed not only to you, but to anyone watching closely enough to see the truth emerge. Your ability to recognize patterns now borders on otherworldly. Subtle repetitions that once slipped past unnoticed are obvious to you before they have even reached their conclusion. The webs they spin to ensnare others appear to you as transparent threads, unraveling before your eyes. What they recycle as cunning is to you a predictable script, easily dismantled before it begins to take shape. What might have rattled you in the past now reads as painfully simplistic. Their attempts arrive with the transparency of a novice trying to bluff an expert, their intentions so exposed that the performance loses all force. You move with such mastery that it is not even resistance anymore. It is quiet, effortless redirection, a disarming ease that leaves them flustered in their own performance. The strain of trying to decode, you only magnifies their own weaknesses. In their obsession to crack what cannot be broken, they reveal the boundaries of their own understanding. Every move they make in pursuit of unraveling your methods serves instead as a confession of limitation. In chasing your brilliance, They shed light on their inadequacies. And in this revelation lies your silent triumph. Their frantic attempts to grasp what you have become only serve to prove that they cannot touch it. The deeper they press, the more their own shadows are laid bare. Meanwhile, your mind remains untouchable, fluid, and unbound, an architecture of thought so refined that no scheme, no trap, no strategy can survive contact with it. Your way of perceiving has become so advanced that others can no longer categorize how your mind operates. Information that would overwhelm most is effortlessly arranged into clarity within you. What they believed to be scattered fragments, you link into patterns that reveal truths before they unfold. The image they once held of you has dissolved. In its place stands someone whose awareness no longer resembles anything they can mirror or grasp. The intelligence you embody now extends beyond logic into sensitivity, so refined it registers subtleties they overlook. Shifts in tone, fleeting gestures, even the smallest inconsistencies reveal entire narratives to you. Their attempts at concealment no longer hide intent, but instead serve as confirmation of what you already know. Plots dressed as innocence, questions posed with hidden motives, all unravel before you with an ease that unsettles them deeply. What they wait for, your retaliation, your dramatic rebuttal, never arrives in the way they expect. They brace for conflict in familiar forms, but you answer in silence, or in movements so subtle they cannot measure the impact until it has already reshaped the terrain beneath them. The more they prepare for battles they understand, the more bewildered they become when you never show up to fight on their terms. Your evolution has erased the very concept of revenge as they know it. You recognize that consequences emerge organically, drawn to their originators without your interference. Their own choices set into motion the very outcomes they fear, while you continue rising without pause. They remain stuck swinging at shadows, struggling to comprehend why you do not descend into the arenas they construct out of pride and insecurity. Because they assume everyone moves from wounded ego, they misinterpret your calm as weakness, unaware it is the very shield that denies them victory. They search for your anger and cannot find it. They expect your bitterness and discover only stillness. This absence of predictable reaction shatters their strategies, forcing them into erratic patterns that expose their lack of control. You have mastered the art of detachment without losing awareness. From a distance, you see each step they attempt, yet you refuse to invest your energy where it cannot serve you. Their chaos drains only themselves, while you conserve strength for paths that lift you higher. This refusal to descend into their noise is more destructive to their schemes than any direct strike could ever be. Every moment you expand your knowledge, they fall further behind, weighed down by the repetition of old tricks. Your hunger for learning has multiplied your advantage, building an arsenal of insight they cannot match. Where they recycle yesterday's methods, you move forward into territories beyond their comprehension. Their fixation on you only highlights the distance that now exists, a gulf too vast for them to cross. The distance between you and those who try to diminish you has grown wider with every passing moment. While they recycled the same thought patterns, you cultivated insight that compounds endlessly, expanding your perception into territories they cannot map. Connections between disciplines that appear unrelated to them weave together effortlessly in your mind, producing revelations that feel to them like secrets stolen from hidden sources. What unsettles them most is realizing that the truth is simpler and more unsettling. You've trained your consciousness to operate far outside the limits of their narrow framework. Your communication now carries dimensions that stretch beyond surface language. Layers of implication run beneath your words, influencing outcomes on levels they cannot detect. Their inability to register these undertones leaves them perpetually disoriented, uncertain why conversations with you always tilt in your favor. By the time they try to understand what happened, the results have already settled firmly in your direction. The way you use speech has become its own art form. Their hostility becomes harmless in your presence, not because you block it directly, but because you redirect it into momentum that benefits you. Every hardship they impose sharpened your recall, etching events into memory with precision they cannot erase. What they assumed time would conceal has instead become reference material for your mastery, a map of behaviors that now allows you to anticipate every repetition before it unfolds. Attempts to convince you that your own memory was unreliable have only strengthened your certainty. Every distortion they try to impose has turned into proof of their intentions, a permanent record they cannot edit. You do not cling to these recollections for revenge, but as an evolving library that guides you in navigating new interactions with flawless discernment. Control over information has become one of your greatest advantages. You decide when and how to reveal truths, dropping fragments at intervals that leave others perpetually unsettled. They can never be sure how much you know, or how much more remains unspoken. This uncertainty destabilizes their confidence, ensuring they play on ground you've prepared without even realizing it. Your ability to dismantle arguments now functions with surgical ease. As others speak, you already see the structure of their reasoning, the weak points hidden in their rhetoric, the manipulations disguised as sincerity. By the time they finish, you have already revealed the collapse of their position, exposing what they thought was invisible. The elegance of your dismantling leaves no room for defense. This calculated mystery, combined with your intellectual precision, grants you mastery over dynamics others cannot control. They believe they are navigating familiar terrain, yet they are always a few steps behind, caught in the wake of your foresight. Each encounter becomes another lesson in how far you have ascended, and how impossible it has become to pull you back into the confines of their outdated systems. Their attempts to bury you beneath complicated arguments only expose how much they rely on confusion as a tool. You cut through their webs instantly, isolating the essence of what truly matters and addressing it with precision they cannot match. What appears complex to them becomes clear to you, and the answers you provide seem almost effortless in their simplicity. The depth of your perception allows you to see from multiple vantage points at once, producing solutions that resolve not just surface symptoms, but the deeper patterns beneath.